Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hopefully today we can wrap up this video series of the Texas Weapon Systems Dogleg Gen 3, whether it's any good and if it's any good compared to JMAC Customs or SureShot USA, and see if any of the other ones have any problems or whatever. At the end, we are going to evaluate how they all did, have a winner, discuss, price point versus performance that you get. So yeah, just without further ado, let's get into this thing because it is hot out today and this video is going to take me a while to film. Okay, so the thing that we're going to use to kick this up a notch on all three platforms is this primary arms. I believe it is the SLX. Let's see. Yep, SLX. This is Gen 4. 1 to 6 has their ACSS Aurora on there. It's a mil adjustment. I don't know that really matters, but it's sitting in a Griffin Armament GPM mount, and I got that thing low because I didn't want my height over bore to be crazy on this thing, and eventually I have a plan for this optic setup to go and live on another rifle. So anyway, this optic with the mount weighs it weighs 1 pound, 11.8 ounces. We might as well say 1 pound, 12 ounces, so 1 3/4 pounds. Why that's significant is the micro dots like the Aimpoint T2 that is on the JMAC and the SIG dot that's on the Texas Weapon Systems. Those dots with mounts usually weigh around 4.5, possibly 5 ounces if you have the QDs like I do. So this optic setup is significantly heavier. At the very least, we're talking 4 times as heavy, probably closer to 6 times as heavy. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. I've already shot a base group down there with this thing, so we should be pretty close to 0. So this being the SureShot, I started with this one because we're going to be able to knock out this one a little bit quicker than the others. That reason being, just like at the beginning of these tests, we didn't even include this one in the first video because you can't hinge it. It doesn't hinge, so it automatically kind of gets a pass on that. So we're pretty much immediately going to be going into drop testing. So before anybody has any questions, I do have witness marks on here so we can see if the optic mount fails. That way we're not blaming everything on the chassis system. I've got a fat wrench at home. If you know what that is, it's a little inch-pound torque wrench, and everything is torqued exactly to spec, so it's not over or under torqued. So just get that out of the way. So without further ado, let's start the drop testing. We're empty. Let's just go right to it. Let's just go shoulder height and see how it goes. So you can see, mount took a little bit of a beating there, so we got some hits on the scope. So, yep, let's shoot a group, see what it did. And naturally, with a magnified optic, it's pretty easy for me to see hits down there. I'm pretty sure this thing is still good. So, but either way, okay. So, might have to zoom this in to be able to see it. But this was, I've got this labeled G1, so Group 1. I had a couple right in the orange, but they were kind of favoring right. Again, this optic's not planning on staying here, so I'm not really worried about getting it super duper dialed in. But if we come over here, we have another round that struck like just above dead center. I feel like it's holding the same. So far, so good. Next thing to do is go drop it on a harder surface, see how it does. Okay, Here we are again in the driveway with the compacted white rock. We are empty. I'm gonna go ahead and close the bolt, put it on safe. Here we go. Let's see if it'll take a hit from the other side. This is gonna hurt me doing on a magnified optic. More damage to the charging handle, but that may have taken the brunt of it, but still we're gonna see if that has any effect. So let's go back to the sandbags. All right, back again at 50. Let's shoot another group.
See if you move.
That might have been 6, I'm not sure. Kind of lost count, but I can already say it does look like it's moved. So let's go take a look. All right, well, here we are. A majority of the group is right here. I've got one out, so I did fire 6 rounds like I thought. The group definitely shifted over to the right a little bit. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and circle that, label it. Since we're already here, let's do one more test just to see what it'll do. So let's go back and shoot some rounds. All right, so we're gonna do kind of a mag dump, see how it does again with heat, see if it's worse than it was before with the heavier optic. Not quite 30 rounds in here because I'm saving some to shoot the group. So let's just get to it. Turn down my magnification here. Oh. That's rare. Actually had a malfunction. Let's see. I mean, I'm still able to hit. Like, I was just shooting some plates off of my dually or my Texas Star, and it's roughly 40 yards away. So, and I was dead holding. So, I don't know. And I'm hitting my 8-inch gong, no problem. And that was it. But I'm dead holding on stuff and still getting hits. So interesting. And while it's hot, let's go shoot another group. Let's get this thing loaded up, shoot another group real quick. Turn the magnification back up. Okay, I believe that was 5. And it looks like it's holding where it was before. So let's go take a closer look. Okay, so again, aiming point, we're pretty far off to the right. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ironically, again, that is the best group that that thing has shot since I put that scope on it. And I do also think it's odd that that rifle doesn't shoot better with a magnified optic than it was doing with a red dot. In fact, I was producing pretty consistently better groups with the Holosun 515 that was on it. But either way, you know, first 2 groups, this was the shift after the hard surface drop. It did seem to maintain that right after that initial shift. So I don't know. That's pretty interesting. Maintained it also under heat. So I don't know. I've heard of something like this happening where there's an initial shift, and then that's like where it settles. I I don't know if that's necessarily the case here. I don't know, but let's start looking at some of the other guns and see how they do with magnified optic. All right, so next one on the chopping block is none other than the JMAC Customs with the MMS railed dust cover. So I've already got this thing zeroed, or as close as I'm going to get it for the sake of this test, and it's so far producing pretty good groups, actually better groups than the SureShot. I can't say that that's indicative of this rifle or this system, but I've heard a lot of good things about the enhanced accuracy out of the MMS. So anyway, without further ado, make sure, yes, we are empty. Let's go ahead and hinge this boy open. So with a magnified optic, you may run into this. No pun intended there, but the optic is going to touch your rear sight to where you're not going to be able to hinge it all the way open, but that is far enough that you could still take the carrier and such like that out and do some cleaning, some maintenance, whatever. But anyway, let's get her back down. Let's shoot a group, see how she does. All right, so we do have just 5 rounds loaded up this time. That way I don't shoot more than 5 like I did with the other Saiga. I am also going to point out with this optic, and this still has a Warsaw packed length stock, this is not comfortable to shoot. I would definitely want to scoot this scope forward, or at the very least put a longer stock on it, something like that. But we are shooting the same ammunition, which is the Tula Cartridge Works out of both rifles. So enough yapping, more shooting. All right. Yep, looks to me like the group is holding, which I'm not surprised, because so far JMAC is kind of ahead of everybody. So let's go take a closer look for you guys. Okay, so over here you'll see I have 2 groups circled. I was just getting the thing pretty close with Golden Tiger, just a little bit that I a little bit that I have left in my stash. But I would like to point out that shot a little higher than the Tula Cartridge Works. So it's a important thing that we shoot the same ammunition through all these tests, or at least each time we do a test from start to finish. But either way, this is our first group with the Tula Cartridge Works favoring low right. There's a second group favoring low right. So no shift at all, not surprised. So I'm going to circle this one, put another target up, and we'll do everyone's favorite, the drop test. All right, now for everybody's favorite, we are empty. I'm going to drop it on the left side, shoulder height. SureShot passed this test. The JMAC passed it last time with a red dot. I feel like it's going to do good this time, but for the sake of science, we're going to go ahead and do it. Again, took a little bit of a hit on the optic, but let's shoot a group. All right, got another 5 rounds loaded up.
Here we go.
All right. It looks like it's still holding, but let's go take a closer look. Okay, so group number 3. If you look here, I can see if I can zoom in on that for you guys. That bullet was hitting slightly sideways. If you notice there at the end, I was kind of scooting over and looking, and I've mentioned before, my backyard kind of slopes down. Well, that round, like, I can only see this target from here about up, so that round actually touched the ground. But still held a pretty good group. There's the other one. So there was 2 rounds actually that touched the ground, but the rounds that didn't touch hit the ground on the way to the target, landed right here, which is consistent with the other ones. In fact, that 3-round group is actually very good. So not surprised, JMAC passed the ground drop test. Now we're going to do the compacted white rock. I'm probably going to adjust this target up a little bit so we don't have this issue again. All right, here we are once again out in the driveway. We are empty, dropping from shoulder height once again. We'll stay consistency, or stay consistent for the sake of science. We dropped the SureShot onto its right side, so we'll do the same thing with the JMAC. Here we go. Definitely took a hit there on the charging handle. You can see there's dirt and dust splatter. The optic even right here on that cap took a little bit of a hit, so hopefully we don't have a failure with the optic. I would be surprised, but let's go shoot another group.
Hold that one.
All right, let's go take a close look. All right, so here we go. Group 4, we're still favoring low right like we were at the beginning. So again, after doing the tests on with the red dots, the initial testing, I am not surprised to see the JMAC still kind of leading the pack on this one. So let's circle this one, mark it, put up another one, and we'll do the same thing that we did with the SureShot, where we basically dump a mag and then we fire another group and see how it does again with all the heat. All right, just before mag dump testing, let's see what we got. We're about 108. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. Crank it back down to 1 power for this. We got 25 rounds. I'm gonna take note of the temperature of the barrel before we shoot. And I've made note of it beforehand, which I've probably already shown you guys, but just to show why this test is a little important and how much this quick a shooting can, or how much it can affect the heat of the barrel. All right, let's go look how hot she is. All right, just dumped that mag. Let's see how hot she is now. There we go. Let's go gas block. Screaming hot, almost 100 degrees difference. Okay, as you saw there, the barrel started off before the dump at a little over 100 degrees. Gas block now is about 180, so almost double. The ambient temperature today is just under 90 degrees. So this heat could definitely make a big difference. But last time it did not with the JMAC. Let's see if it stays the same this time. All right. Again, with this magnified optic, I can see down there, see the performance already. I'm already telling you, it's good. Let's go see for you guys. So just got done looking at the target. Let's look at the barrel again. Yeah, we're still in the 150s. How hot is the handguard? Up here at the front, 120. Up here near the back, 137. Let's go all the way to the back. Actually a little bit cooler back here. So handguard's keeping it somewhat tolerable. All right, so here we have it yet again. JMAC Customs, this is group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. So we've got 2 shots actually in the same hole here, 3, 4, 5. This thing is fantastic. I already have the prediction that it's going to be the overall winner. Kind of going into this with the heavier optic, the LPVO, I was kind of already of that opinion since it did so much better with a dot. But another thing, you know, just like the groups overall have been better with the Saiga with the JMAC on it. And typically, from my personal experience, I see guns that have a front end conversion, like the one with the SureShot, typically shoot better. I think it has something to do with the barrel harmonics, but apparently JMAC trumps your barrel harmonics, or it does something to make them better, because overall, I mean, they're both 5.45 Russian Saigas shooting the same ammunition. We've got the same optic on there, but just a different chassis system, and the JMAC gun is doing better. Again, I don't know if that rifle just naturally shoots better. With the red dots, I don't think it did. So I think this is actually also indicative that the JMAC system can actually make your rifle shoot a little bit better. So we're going to save this target, get everything switched over, start on the Texas weapon systems. Whew. Boy, it is a hot one out here today. But we're out now on the Texas weapon systems Gen 3 dog leg. We have just shot a group, got this thing basically zeroed. You know exactly what we're going to do. We're empty, and we are going to hinge it up and hinge it back down. Remember, in the instructions it said to rack it at least twice. I think we're going to do 3, just to get that rear locking piece seated in there really nice. So yeah, just like the other ones, less yapping, more shooting. Let's see how it does. All right, load it up. I believe that was 5. Looks like 5. Same as the other 2. I can see, I mean, we're only shooting 50 yards, so I can easily see my hits from here. Looks good, but just for your guys' sake, let's go take a closer look. Okay, so this is our first group. We're still shooting the same Scorpio/STV 55 grain brass case ammo. Does pretty decent. It's cheap. I like to shoot it because of that. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's basically grouping about the same spot. I didn't really expect to see a shift just from hinging the dust cover. If we did, that would be pretty problematic. If you guys can see this hole here, this is actually from where this target had been stapled up before when I was training for a match. So anyway, let's put another pasty up. We'll try something else. Okay, something that we didn't do last time that I didn't even think about, to be honest, but talking to Clayco, he brought up a really good point about these things, and he actually outlined that a little bit in his video. I don't think he actually did it, but if you look really close up here at this hinge point, it's actually captured like a takedown pin on an AR. And he mentioned possibly having multiples of these and being able to slap them on, and hopefully they'll retain the 0 that you had them at. So let's find out if they do. Let's get this open. Let's pop that. All right, we are completely off. And like I mentioned, that thing is captured. So let's, all right, we're back in there. Lock back down. 1, 2. We're gonna do 3 again just for good measure. All right, now this is really gonna tell me something, and you guys something, if it holds 0 after that. So let's shoot a group. We're loaded up. I am really interested to see how this thing does after completely removing that dust cover.
Here we go.
So that was 5. And again, let's take a look. May have seen just a ever so slight shift to the right. But I'm going to shoot 5 more at the same dot and see if it moves back or if it just is settled where it's at. We got one in it. All right, here we go. Let's see, yep, I believe that was 5. So, let's go down there and get a closer look for you guys. All right, so this is our target. This first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here to the right was right after I put the dust cover back on. I've got 3 shots right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is holding about where we were at before. So it looks like it just needed to settle in a little bit. That's pretty freaking crazy that you can completely remove that dust cover with an optic and mount setup that weighs 1 3/4 pounds, and it's going to return to 0 that well. So that's a big feather in the cap for TWS, I got to be honest, because you don't have that ability with any of the other ones. I honestly, I think that is pretty cool to have a rifle and just have multiple dust covers with, one with a red dot, have one for night vision, one for, an LPVO if you wanted to shoot further, and just be able to at will switch them, maybe pump a few rounds through them to get them settled in, and then you should be good to go. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna circle these, put up another paster, and we'll get on to the favorite, the drop test. Okay, back here at 50 yards, we're empty. Let's go ahead and drop her. Do the same thing to this one as we did the others. Drop on the left side, shoulder height. Here we go. Ooh. That took a pretty good solid hit on the optic there. The gun kind of turned. So let's see how it groups. All right. I did not expect that at all. And I think you guys know what you're probably going to see, but let's get a closer look for you guys. So I showed you guys that rifle turned, and man, it landed right on the optic, that whole weight of that rifle with the 1 3/4 pound optic setup, but we are still holding 0. And this is after completely taking it off and reinstalling it, and it shifted back to where it was before. It's still on target. So we're gonna go back to where we went before with the others, and we'll see if it survives a hard surface drop. Here we are again in the driveway. We are empty, we're on safe. Flip it over, drop it on the right side, just like we did the other 2 rifles, and then we'll head right back over, shoot another group. Shoulder height, here we go. Hit it good enough that it knocked the lens cap thing off here. But took a pretty good ding on the charging handle, which is also Texas Weapon Systems, is the hobnob. Really like that thing. It's great. It's lightweight. It's aluminum. But anyway, let's go do some shooting. All right. All right, so again, I can see my shots from here, and that is a huge shift. It's kind of disappointing because this thing's been doing really well so far. I'm gonna load up again like we did when we removed the dust cover, and I'm gonna fire 5 more rounds and see if it stays consistent where it's at. If so, I'll move it back and get it somewhat zeroed for the next test. Yep, she's staying where she's at. So I'm gonna try and get this adjusted back, and then we'll go take a look for you guys. All right, the sad news. So I was aiming here. This is 10 shots, so this is group 6 and 7. Moved it back over. I was a little bit low, raised it up. This was the next 3 shots. So I'm gonna put 1 more up. We're gonna do the same thing we did to the others, just to keep everything consistent. And we're gonna dump 25-30 rounds and go shoot another group, see how it does with heat. Sorry, it is. I keep saying it. It's hot. I am looking forward to this thing being over with because it's hot. So we are loaded up. Let's do some mag dumping into trash. Change our mag down again. I gotta say, it is super easy to make hits with this thing. I mean, I just hit my 4-inch gong. All right. While she's good and hot, let's shoot another group. Crank back up to 6. Here we go. That might have been 6 rounds. I'm not sure, but let's go take a closer look for you guys, because I can't really exactly tell what it's doing there. So let's go take a look. Okay, so this round, that one, and that one are all marked because that's where I was zeroing to get on back on target before. So I've got 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So I feel like it stayed pretty decent. Again, that rifle does not have a fully free-floated handguard on there, and with the handguard and the barrel allowed to get hot and do something different than where the optic is mounted, it doesn't surprise me. But then again, the JMAC Customs is the same way, and we didn't have the same issue. So the SureShot Armament, same thing, or SureShot USA, same thing. No, it didn't see a horrible problem with heat, at least after 1 mag dump. but still stayed on target better than it did the last time, surprisingly, with a red dot. And this thing, it's got the really heavy LPVO. So, yeah. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. I was really surprised by some of this stuff. Some of the stuff I was not surprised by. But let's take this target. We'll go over everything and summarize everything here at the end. All right. First up, let's discuss the performance of the SureShot armament. The SureShot did really well with a red dot. I feel like it was one of the better ones. It was, however, one of the two rifles that we saw a slight shift due to heat. Granted, that was when we put more than just one mag through it. It saw a little bit of shift, but once it cooled back down, it was dead nuts right back on target. So I'm not super worried about that. That's not necessarily uncommon. But let's go over what we saw today. So this is our first initial group where we're zeroed. Since SureShot cannot hinge, that's something you don't necessarily have to worry about. So that's kind of a nice thing. We did a drop test and it stayed on target. We did another drop test where we went onto a harder surface and we did definitely see a shift. Granted, it did stay there, which we did, dumped basically a whole mag and it was still there. So that was nice. It just, the one failure is there on the hard surface. So I kind of feel like a good thing to do here is going to be rate these things off of somewhat of a point system. So SureShot, I feel like, gets a point because you don't have to worry about the dust cover hinging. Even if you do have the Mark III where the dust cover comes off, you're not really supposed to put an optic or anything back there other than maybe a magnifier, because it's never was intended to hold zero. So it's something you have to worry a little bit less about. It survived the test on the ground, or like on the grass, I guess you'd say. So there's a point there. It did not survive the test with the LPVO on the hard surface, so I feel like we should take a point away there. Or how about this? We just won't award it a point, so we'll just go back to 2 points there. Then we dumped a mag and it held zero, and yeah, it was pretty good. So right now SureShot is sitting at 3 points. I do want to point out the SureShot price point. Price point on the SureShot right now, normally they are about $550, which is a little high. Not crazy, but it is a little high. Right now they are on sale for $467.50 doll hairs, we'll say. They've been on sale, it seems like, since the 4th of July. I don't know if SureShot's just running this sale all month, because this is the tail end of July when I'm filming this. So I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty good price point for this, because it's a whole chassis. Again, you get to maintain your dust cover. You don't have to worry about anything hinging. So I feel like that's fair. So anyway, let's move on to the JMAC Customs. Here we have the JMAC Customs MMS. So, well, as I mentioned before with the SureShot, the JMAC was doing phenomenal with a red dot. So it was no surprise at all to me that this thing did, again, phenomenal. It actually did better than I thought it would do with the LPVO. I expected to see some shift out of all three. Not JMAC though, not JMAC. So as we mentioned before, this was just my group I was kind of getting on target with the Golden Tiger. There's a group with the with the TWS, or Tula Cartridge Works, I should say, TCW. That's what we zeroed with, and that's what we used with all these other groups. So we hinged the dust cover, stayed on target. Group 3, we dropped it, stayed on target. Group 4, we dropped it on hard surface, stayed on target. Then we dumped a mag and saw if we could see any shift with heat, stayed on target. So the JMAC Customs, hands down, there is no disputing the JMAC Customs is the toughest one of all three systems. I am going to point out the JMAC Customs is, I believe, the only one that is made with 70-75 aircraft aluminum. The other two are with 6061. Not necessarily a problem with that. 6061 is still nice and strong. I believe 6061 is a little bit heavier. It is also a little bit softer. So I don't know what to tell you there. But anyway, the JMAC system, as we mentioned before, whenever we were doing the group testing today, this rifle, which typically AKs that I have a front sight still way out here and I haven't chopped the barrel and done a front sight gas block combo, I typically, with the rifles like that, I don't see as good of accuracy. This thing outshot the other two rifles, and that's with the 5.56 rifle with the TWS on there having what should be better quality ammunition, more consistent ammunition. The JMAC Customs equipped rifle with steel cased ammo outgrouped and just stayed on target better than all three rifles. What can I say? I mean, it is an outstanding system. It's amazing. One thing we're going to bring up though, I just checked on the site, and you can, I think I said for an AKM, the 10 point something inch that comes basically almost out to the end of your handguard with a railed gas tube and the railed dust cover at MSRP. Now I do not know what the minimum advertised price, or what some of you guys may call MAP pricing. I do not know what that price is because it was directly on their website. But that whole setup is 745.85 ball hairs. So it is the most expensive as of right now of all these. Granted, that is at full MSRP. But I am doing that. I'm getting pricing for all three systems directly off the production, or the producers, manufacturers, whatever you want to say, off of their website, which is generally MSRP. So anyway, most expensive system, but as we've seen, you kind of get what you pay for. And I have to say, Justin at JMAC, that's been a business goal of his. There needs to be a value in the product. If you're paying that much money, you better be getting that return out of it. And by God, we're getting that out of this thing. Like this, I'm super stoked. I can't tell you how stoked I am. This thing has done so well. It's really, really surprised me. Going into this thing, I honestly expected SureShot to kind of clean the floor with everybody, because again, the JMAC has a hinge point, which is another failure point, but just the engineering and the thought process behind this thing is just amazing. So anyway, let's get on to the point system. Yeah, did good. Hinging, didn't lose zero. Did good on the drop test, get another point. Did good enough on the hard ground drop test, get another point, and get another point for the heat test. You might take away maybe half a point. I don't know what you want to say. The price point. It is the highest one out of all of them, but as I've just mentioned before, it is the most accurate out of all of them. This rifle, accuracy-wise, with the same optic, has performed better. So I feel like we should keep it where it's at. JMAC ending this test with 4 points. Now, the one that everybody's been waiting for, let's move on to the Texas weapon systems. All right, here she is, still got the LPVO on there. The Texas weapon systems equipped SLR 106F. But let's take a look at the target. So, our initial group where we were zeroed did pretty good. Hinged did pretty good. Took the whole dust cover off, and it grouped here. Then I immediately fired another 5 rounds, settled right back into where it was before. Pretty surprising. I have to say, I did not expect that at all. Then we did the hard ground drop test. We did just the regular ground drop test, which is where we got here. Stayed on target, so that was good. Then we did the hard ground drop test. We were aiming here. We grouped over here. I fired, there's 10 rounds there to see if it would maybe shift back, but it went over there, stayed there. Moved it back over. We did the heat test. The group definitely opened up. I believe that is a sign of the handguard, not so much the dust cover. But let's get into the point system. So, the Texas Weapon Systems comes in straight from TWS at the low price of 185 doll hairs. By far the cheapest of them all. You could actually almost buy 3 of these dust covers for what the price of the SureShot cost, let alone the JMAC. Granted, the SureShot and the JMAC, in that price, you gain also a handguard with a bunch of real estate and stuff, so it's not just an optic mounting system over your receiver. So something to take into consideration. That said, also, I did see on Brownells they had these things for 169 doll hairs. So it is possible to find these things a little bit cheaper. So I mean, that is a nice point to point out. And when we saw in the test here, whenever we could remove the whole dust cover and slap another one on there, that is pretty cool. Whether you want to do that or not, the capability of the system to do that is pretty awesome. So before we start getting into the talking about the groups, I have to give the TWS system a point for that, because it is something that the other two are just not capable of doing. So TWS gets a point. So for hinging, did good, gets a point. We've already gone over the whole removing the thing, so I feel like it's already gotten an extra point there. Drop test gets a point. Hard ground drop test definitely does not get a point. I am not going to give it a point necessarily for the heat test. I mean, it didn't do bad, but it also didn't do great. I mean, the group opened up. Can't really honestly say that that is due to the handguard. I do think it is due to the handguard, but we don't know for sure. But again, the price point is something to really consider with the TWS. Greatly more affordable than the other two. So at the end of this, it looks like TWS has 3 points. SureShot has also 3 points. The JMAC Customs with 4. There we have it. The king of the hill, JMAC Customs, MMS. Again, if you would have told me to begin with that JMAC would have beat everybody, I would have kind of doubted you. I would have really liked to have seen it, which we did do, but I would have kind of doubted you. Also, if you would have said performance-wise that in different ways the TWS would perform about as good as a SureShot, I also would have doubted you. So this is a pretty eye-opening thing. I have to say, overall, all of them did pretty good. They all did really well with red dots. Obviously, the Texas Weapon Systems, once you go LPVO, you really have to watch getting abused. Like if it drops and stuff, I would definitely go and try and reconfirm your 0. With the SureShot, same thing. If it takes it, like if you drop it on the ground, like where I'm at now, probably all right. If you drop it on the concrete, or again like something, say you're at a competition or something like that, and the bay is full of like that fine white rock and it's fairly compacted, I would definitely try and check and confirm your 0. This one did shift, not that much, but it did. JMAC Customs, what can I say again? It just passed everything with flying colors. Again, everything did pretty good, but the JMAC Customs shot the most accurate. And typically I wouldn't say that this is the more accurate rifle out of the 3 rifles. In fact, if anything, the 5.56 should have shot better with more consistent ammunition, but it didn't. Wrapping things up, I'll have to say, if somebody asks me if I will recommend a TWS Gen 3 dogleg to them, I might tell them yes. It's going to depend on the optic that you want to put on there. So to begin with this test, again, I had a micro dot on there that was around 5 ounces with the mount. I feel like with an EOTech, you're getting closer to a pound. You might still be okay. I've had one of the TWSs before, had an EOTech on it, had no problems. So I think you'll be all right. If you tell me you want to do an LPVO, I'll just tell you what I just covered. Be sure to watch your zero, because if it does get banged around, it might lose zero. So again, for the money, I feel like the TWS is a great option if you don't have the money to drop on, like, say, SureShot or JMAC. That said, again, with the TWS, you are not getting a whole rail system to put flashlights, forward grips, all that kind of stuff on. So, I mean, it is what it is. If you're just simply needing an optic mount and you want it over your dust cover, I say go for it. For the money, it's worth it. SureShot Armament, I'd say it's worth it, definitely, because, again, you're getting the whole system, free-floated system, put forward grips, flashlights, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I feel like it's good. Especially at the sale price I have now, I feel like it's definitely worth it. JMAC Customs. It is pricey, again, at MSRP. It is pricey, but again, you get what you pay for. The value in this thing is absolutely incredible. I don't know what I'm going to move this to, because this is typically an iron sight competition rifle for me, so I don't think I'm going to keep this on here, but I'm definitely not getting rid of this. I'm going to move it to a different gun because of just how well it performs. So, to wrap it up, yeah, TWS for the money is great. I'm going to recommend it with caveats. So, anyway, if you guys enjoyed this test, please like, subscribe, share, maybe. I shot quite a bit of 5.45, and let's not forget the true star of this video, this primary arms. Poor 1 to 6 power took a lot of beating in its very first range outing, and it's still holding up. So anyway, yeah, I expended a lot of 5.45 for you guys, for your viewing pleasure, for the sake of science. Please like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for joining me on this whole series. And if you like this whole series and stuff, just stick around, because I'm probably going to be doing more similar content with other things. Thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you on the next video.